Welcome to Unlocked. I'm Dr. Joel Swakowski. In this show, we explore how truth comes to life through real stories and real people. Today, I'm joined by Junko Jacobs, a friend of mine who's also been working in education for over 25 years. She is currently an executive director of revenue and operations. Really great. What we're going to hear today is the story of how, like, really the journey, the epic journey that she went on to get the job she's in today. In addition to that, she also serves as the overseer at Music of Life Church Kimberly, a pivotal role in the day-to-day functioning of this church. So yeah, I'm excited for you to hear this story. Junko is amazing, and as is her story. So let's dive in. All right. Hello, Junko. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being here, being on the Unlocked show. I'm really excited to hear your story today, one of many that I know you have. And this one in particular deals a lot with your background in education.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I'd love to hear like what's your history of getting into education? What was the draw to that for you?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. So a little bit of background is my brother and my two brothers and I, um, when we were in school, my brother had a hard time saying certain sounds and certain words in when he was learning how to talk because my mom was Japanese. My dad is from the States. So my mom had a very heavy Japanese, you know, um, uh, what's the right word? She had a very heavy accent, and
Okay.
so it like kind of led to some speech issues that my brother had. So I originally went to college to be a doctor of medicine, and I decided quickly after being there that this wasn't for me, and I started to pursue other things, and I landed in school to be a speech path. And so, as a speech path, or speech pathologist.
Thank you.
We yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, as a speech pathologist, we learn, both the clinical side of things as well as the educational side of things. So I was certified to do both, and actually, when I started my career, I started off in the clinical setting for 2 years before going into education. But because my kids were little, I decided that like, I wanted to be in the educational side of things so that I could have a schedule similar to theirs. So, that's kind of how I ended up in education, but, um, with over 25 years in education, I ended up having, like I've worn a lot of hats is how I like to describe it. So, I started off as
Not just like a teacher like people would normally think in education.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, in education, there's the regular education teachers that people think of, right? So
Yeah.
you have the teachers that are actually up in front teaching the classroom, and then there's a side called the special education side where you have teachers that are teaching students with disabilities. So I would be classified as a teacher in special education, but as a speech and language pathologist. So
Okay.
I spent like probably the first 10 to 15 years doing speech therapy with kids. So I would be in the classroom with kids and I would pull kids out of the classroom sometimes and do one on one therapy with them, just like helping them understand how language is, as well as like understanding the parts of speech, understanding what definitions are, and all of the different things that go into language, as well as how to articulate sounds. That was like kind of my area.
I didn't
Um,
see already, Junko, I'm learning something new about you. I know you pretty well over the last, handful of years now. And
yeah.
just wondering what maybe that type of work did for your interest in words and definitions.
Oh gosh, I that language side of stuff was my favorite side of things
Yeah.
because with language there's so like especially in the English language there are so many words that mean different things. And so
Yeah.
like helping kids understand what words mean and the definition of words was so important. Um, because it leads to misunderstandings and
Yeah.
things like that. So which for me, like being in the classroom, like I had teachers that would tell me all the time, "You're so good with behaviors, like you're so fantastic. Like, how do you do this?" And I'm like, I never could explain it until later on. And I realized it's because I was trying to find out why the kids were doing
Ah,
what they were doing. And I
okay.
wanted to understand their point of view of how did they see things and what are they trying to communicate to other because like behavior is a form of communication when you think
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
So like we don't just act out because we want to act out. You're acting out because you're being misunderstood or something's not going right or things like that. So it played a big role in that piece.
That's really cool. I mean, especially with how I know you now, I know like the communities we're involved in are so heavily focus and emphasize the power of words and definitions. It's just really interesting to me that you had a
Yeah.
background that was emphasized it very strongly. So yeah, that's a really cool connection. Anyways, yeah, continue. Because I know
Yeah.
like I didn't know this about you. So where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so after doing that, there was a time when I was job sharing with another teacher. So I was working half-time, and I was actually going to school to get my, second master's degree in, educational administration so that I could be a principal is what I was ultimately wanting to do.
Okay.
Um, but I ended up with a license in curriculum and instruction as well as, administration. And when I was doing that, my job share partner ended up leaving, so I had to fill in the gap with the other half of my job. And I got asked to be a behavior interventionist in our school. So then I was doing that for a little while as well as speech therapy. Had great success with that. And then again, like throughout the years, have changed roles. But after learning a lot of the information that I do, through Flosis and things like that, I realized my uniqueness really fed well into helping people want to improve practices because I'm a giver server. I just want to make things better, right?
Okay. Yep.
So, and then it kind of led me on this path to being a support to other teachers and helping them understand things, and then eventually moving into the more of administrative role, which ultimately led me to wanting to do more professional development for teachers, and that's how I ended up at my new job at CISA six. So, um, yeah,
So at
and
what point can you give me some insight into like where were you in your career when you met the people of Flowsess? How did that impact you and then, lead into where you are today?
yeah, so I met up with the people of Flosis about 9 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been in education. This is my start of my 26th year in education. So about 18 years into it ish when I met them and I learned the information. So like learning that the information, understanding uniqueness, understanding a person's thought process, and that information with Flosis was so strong that I knew that I could help kids and help teachers understand kids better. So at the time that I learned the information, I was what we call a program support teacher or a PST.
Okay.
And I was kind of the head of all of the PSTs in our district. We had 9 people underneath me. So I was kind of in an administrative role, but I was also supporting teachers in various schools. And my specialty area was those really strong, spirited kids, as we like to say, that were
Yeah.
in what we call an emotional behavioral disability program. So these kids were self-contained, only with like peers with similar disabilities, um, pulled out of the regular education setting altogether and just in special education classes. And so these teachers needed support, either behaviorally with the students understanding and trying to figure out ways to help the kids, or with like attending their meetings and helping parents understand them and things like that. So, as I learned the information, I was able to quickly identify students' uniqueness and
Yeah.
then really, really help like parents and teachers understand what does this mean for this particular kid and
Right.
offer strategies. So that's kind of like how it started my professional development side of things because at that point, then I could like that's what I craved, right? I love to be able
Yeah.
to help them go from good to great, and I help them really understand, like, how can I help these teachers help the students? So,
So how did you meet? Like, was it Jonathan who came into the school and what was your
yeah.
first impression there?
Yeah, so it was with John. So, I remember specifically walking out of a meeting, and my boss at the time had stopped me, and she's like, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy," and his name is John Lenhart. And so he introduced me to John, or she introduced me to John, and we had a short conversation, and that's when I found out like a little bit about Flosis and how he was going to teach this first round of teachers, and one of those teachers was one that I was always supporting,
Okay.
Don. So as I talked to Don and helping him out, he was sharing what he was learning with me. And I said, "Okay, I wanna know more." So then the next round of teachers, which was about 8 of us, hopped on and we had the class. So I was, like, one of the very first classes that they were teaching. I don't remember what it was called. I mean, back then it's changed names since then, but
Right.
back then I think it was, like, the healthy thought process class or something along that
But
lines.
essentially
And
what's become now what instant impact essentially?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
So So we learned that information, and then, from there, then I quickly got on board. I quickly started referring other people, even my own kids. So all 3 of my girls went through the same class at this like, shortly after I did. We were taking it all at the same time, learning the same information. And then we also, like, took that information to all of the PSTs that I supported. And so we got to I got to participate and to help teach the PSTs what I was had already learned at that point. So that's started my journey with professional development at that point.
And it sounds like you were already, as a PST, it's already kind of down that path of professional development, like of not only teaching kids anymore, but more helping
Teaching adults.
teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was helping a lot of adults and helping them understand, like, what does this look like and what does this mean? And You know, it at first, it felt like I was learning through a fire hose. It's all this information coming at me at once, but I was, like, super excited because it was, like, instant results, which is why it's called instant impact, right? It's like, if you use these things together, you get instant results with behaviors.
And I imagine it was also putting words to, like you said earlier, like words to why things were working in your early parts of your career, things you were
Yeah.
doing that you didn't quite have words for yet. All of a sudden,
Correct.
when you're given the model for the mind and the brain and how to diagnose or, determine a person's uniqueness,
Yeah.
like, oh, like now I know why all that stuff worked.
Oh, yeah. Why I made the decisions that I made in my
Yeah.
life, why
Oh, there
my
you go.
kids were acting a certain way, and why saying one thing to my youngest daughter, who's a server, would not work sometimes, but would always work this time, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, just really understanding how the power of those words made a big difference.
Cool. So you're not in the classroom or in the schools anymore, are you?
No, I'm not. No, so
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, what was the
no,
journey there?
yeah, it's a good thing, it's a good
Yeah.
thing. So after I had, like my last year in the large public school district that I was in, my direct supervisor, my boss, had a major accident, and so she was out, and so I had filled in as the director of special ed for her, and I was doing a lot more administrative things and more of dealing with parents and dealing with a lot of policies and things like that, which I could do and I did well, but I didn't love it like I loved what I was doing with professional development. And so this opportunity came at CISA where I currently work. And what I ended up doing, oh, and by the way, CISA stands for Cooperative Educational Service Agency.
Great. Can
So
you like so what does that mean though? Like I get
yeah,
that what those words mean, but like
yeah, yeah.
what does
So
CISA exist to provide?
CISA is kind of like a co-op for schools. So it is a nonprofit service agency that helps provide resources and supports for local school districts. And in the state of Wisconsin, it's divvied up into 12 CISAs, and we're number 6. And we have 39 public schools within our system that we help support directly. But we can also support private schools. We can also support schools in other areas as well if they seek us out and they want to have our services. So,
Nice.
yeah, so moving to CISA was like I started there, believe it or not. When I started my career, I worked as a
Oh,
speech path
really?
for them for
Oh,
a
cool.
year before going to my big school district for 19, and now I'm back at CISA 6. I like to say they will bookend my careers because
Yeah.
I want to retire from here eventually. But with this opportunity came about at CISA where I had an opportunity to step in as a director and of a center, because in our CISA we have different centers, and those centers have various specialty areas that they provide. And so I was asked to be the director of ultimately the special education center. It was a different name before, but that's what it is now. And we provide professional development, coaching, consultation to teachers and professionals in the area of special education. So I had the opportunity to go to them. And then when I started, I was one person um, in doing all of the professional
Oh,
development
wow.
in the agency as well as outside the agency for special ed. And then I grew the team to 7 over a course of 5 years. And
Wow.
we supported teachers and staff around all different topics. And so that's what I did, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But that's not what I'm doing now.
No. Okay.
So
So
yeah,
what in the
yeah.
world happened, Junko?
So what in the world happened? Well, about a year and a half ago, I had an opportunity to apply for what we call an executive director position. And so I had gone through and I had applied for this position because they were like reorganizing our agency. So they were providing 3 executive directors, one for solutions for directly for students, one for adult and systems solutions. So like um, sometimes we do system types of PD or professional development where it is like a certain topic that the whole district might get and benefit from. And then the other one was operational solutions. And so I had applied for 2 of the 3. I had applied for a adult and system solutions and operational solutions position because I felt like that's where my strengths lied. And I applied for it, but I didn't get the position. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, that's all right. I didn't get it, but I know that I interviewed well and I had a lot of people that, my wise counsel that was saying like, hey, it's on them, it's not on you. Like, we get it. Like, like you did everything that you can to get this job. So I was just like, okay, but like that's fine. Like I'll support the people that are in front of me that are doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Well, shortly after that had happened, they decided to reorganize my center. And when they reorganized my center, it was like kind of out of my control. So there's 2 centers, the special education center, and then there's the student behavior and wellness center. And some of our services kind of overlapped because they're both special education related, but there's some products and services over in the student behavior side that could really fit well under special education and vice versa. So the chief officers that we have at CISA 6 had decided to move some of the solutions that were in my center into the other center.
Okay.
Like I want to say probably 3 or 4 big high paying solutions that totaled over $600,000 worth of solutions moved over to the other center.
Oh, wow.
And then they moved one to mine.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a lot of frustration that I was having, a lot of um, a lot of tears on my side, not at work, but like talking about it and trying to manage it and trying to handle it well. And I had
So
a
what's
lot of
this
really,
like for you? What's this like? Is this like having to still have to do the same job, but with like
yeah,
a 10% of the resources is what you had before? Is that like Like,
Correct.
is that kind of what it's like? That's the frustration?
Yeah, yeah, that was a huge frustration, and the reason why is if they wouldn't have moved those services, I was scheduled to have a center of 10 people, so I was supposed to add on 3 more people to my team. I was supposed to have all of these services on my team, and I had, um, a key performance indicator or a KPI they set for you, like, I don't have a choice from what that looks like, so I had to achieve this huge revenue goal of almost $1.2 million for the what would have been last school year,
Okay.
and they were taking away a huge chunk of money out of our pocket and put it in with somebody else, and then they forced me to let a couple of people go besides, like, I instead of being a center of 10, I was actually a center of 7. So,
All with
like
the same measures quotas you have to hit over the school year?
correct,
Okay.
correct, they never adjusted those quotas.
Okay.
So they were literally doubling those key performance indicators for me and removing workforce and removing, services that
Yeah.
we had that were huge sellers. So it was very frustrating. It felt very unfair. So it was, like I said, a lot of tears on outside of work just to like get out my feelings and to just try to like, okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so after talking with some of my wise counsel or my friends and felt that I'm in fellowship with, I really had a lot of conversations around like, how can I handle this well? How can I set my team up well to handle this well? Right. And that was my focus. And so what I started to do is just focus on what are the things in front of me that I can do that I have control over that I can like make those things happen so that we could be successful. So that's what I did. And so last year we were a team of 7 and we had a couple new people join the team, but not as many as we would have had. I would have had like 5 new people instead I had 3, but we worked really hard to build a cohesive team. Like all of our team events, all of the things that we are doing, we're just like working on like improving everything as we went. And coming up with new and innovative ideas, like thinking outside the box for different types of professional development, different types of e-commerce types of things to do to try to meet our goals for the year. And we finished the year being only $45,000 short of hitting that $1.2
Oh,
million mark.
wow.
Yeah.
So you
So
lost your job and no?
no, no. Um, I mean, I was so close to hitting that mark, but all of my other KPIs that I had were right on target, and we met all of the other ones. And so, um, like, it was just a huge success for us. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't help but be happier with the team that I had. And so, I had gone in June to celebrate it, like, and to share because we had quarterly meetings with our executive team. And I had gone in and I shared our success and I, shared where we were for all of those goals that we had. And even though that we were the lowest, like we didn't quite meet it, we still met the like bare minimum that we had to. We just didn't hit the like goal that they wanted us to
Yeah.
have. And, for that one indicator. The rest of them were all great, but that one was, like, a little bit shy, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that they always ask us to celebrate is, like, what was your staff engagement like? So we use the, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but the Gallup Q12, it's a way to measure it across the world. It's a worldwide assessment for staff engagement, and it's 12 questions and every staff asks answers the questions. And when my staff asked or answered those things and I got my survey results back, first of all, my team had the same score for both halves of the year, which is like unheard of because usually they drop for
Like
the second
burnout by
half.
the end of the year?
Yeah, usually
Okay.
there's a little burnout, yep,
Yep.
and usually they drop, but my staff had a 4.96 out of 5 rating,
Oh,
and for both halves of the year.
yeah.
And not only was it, like, high overall, it was the highest of all of the centers in the agency.
Oh, wow.
So, like, huge celebration. It like, the team like, I remember celebrating with our team, and it's just, like, just amazing experience,
So
like,
staff
just
engagement,
celebrating.
like, is this kind of measuring like how well people are enjoying their jobs? Is like,
Yep, yep.
wow.
How well they enjoy their jobs, how well they, like the work that they're doing, like the people that they work with, like the conditions of the job, like all of the things all around. So their scores reflect directly on my leadership
Yeah.
because the scores roll up. So,
All right.
yeah, yeah. So super super exciting news, and I got to share all of that at the
What were you
time.
feeling at that time as far as like looking back to how many months earlier when you applied for these jobs and didn't get it? Where are you at in your mindset at this point? Are you like still wishing you had gotten that opportunity, or are you like happy? Like, I know there was a bunch of shifting going around. What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, I was very happy in my role at that point. Like after I had like focused on like, okay, what can I do now? How can I make my team the best? And I shifted that attitude, like I started to see like momentum for our team. We had some great ideas, the team was super excited, like and between the time when they made all those changes and I didn't get the job to the time that like our team actually started the work was about 4 months.
Okay.
I had made a shift in my change in my attitude within a month's time. Like, I'm like, "Nope, I'm gonna do this," and I started making plans of, like, how can I do this for the year? And so, a year later, I was, like, just super excited for our team. I'm like, "Yeah, we're off to a great start." Like, I'm looking forward to next year. I was already starting to plan, like, a team retreat and all of these things moving forward, so
By that time, you
celebrating.
were real focused. You had been so that whole year, then you were pretty focused and not daydreaming about what it would have been like to have a different job. It's like you were in
Correct.
with both feet and
Yeah, correct.
obviously kicking butt and clearly engaged in your job. So like
Yeah.
it makes sense with the way our brains work, right? We're all synced up and
Yeah,
if the people who you're leading are engaged, it makes sense that the person leading them would also be engaged. So did
yeah.
you also have to take that same Gallup 12?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But your score
Rolls up to
affects.
the executive director.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So it was like really exciting for my team at that point. And then and they also ask like at all of those quarterly meetings, how's your family doing? Like they want to know like how we're doing too. What's new for you? And at the time, I had already been in overseer training besides to be the overseer at Mount Kimberly, Music of Life Church Kimberly.
Yeah.
And when I was going through like all of that, I'm like, I knew things were moving. I knew I was going to be named. Like I was acting in the role, but I wasn't named the overseer quite yet. And so, like, I shared that with the team, and I had to explain what an overseer is, right? And
Yeah. So
share.
how'd you explain that to your team? I'd love the
So,
unlocked audience would like to know.
yeah. So what I did is, so a lot of our executive team, they're believers too.
Okay.
So we have a mix of like Catholic people and people that go to like the non-denominational churches.
Right.
So when I said overseer, they're like, "What's that?" And so I said, "Well, it's another term for a bishop, but
Yeah.
basically it's somebody who oversees like the daily workings of the church." And I kind of explain what that looks like, like I'm in charge of the deacons and I'm in charge of different groups within the church to like make sure that things are running smoothly so that the pastors can focus on the body, and
Yeah.
they don't have to worry about the day-to-day things. And so
Great
our
explanation.
CEO, yeah, our
Very
CEO.
important job. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's
There is a
great. I
lot.
love
It
it.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it. I absolutely love it. So I shared that, and Ted, my CEO, he's just like, so do you get to wear a big white hat? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, no white hat.
Yeah.
Um, but they were super excited to hear about that. Then they were asking about my kids and things like that. And my youngest, Maya, she decided that she was going to go back to school at that point. And so I shared that. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. Like Ted's like, where's she going? Like he wanted to know all the details, right?
That's
And
great
she
when your
also works there
CEO is
too.
that invested in your family.
Oh, for sure. And Maya works there too.
Oh, great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so she's a paraprofessional at, basically like a teacher's aide at one of our alternative schools. So she was there, she works there, so she knows Ted too. So I get home and I'm all excited about how my meeting went that day. And I remember calling Maya and telling Maya, I'm like, hey, I'm like, I let the cat out of the bag and I told him. And she got so mad at me that day. And I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
why? She goes, I don't want anybody to know yet.
Yeah.
And I was just
Okay.
like, it's okay. It's okay. Well, she was working in the afternoons. It was summertime. So she was working there in the afternoons and she got pulled into Ted's office the next day. And she's just like, what did I do? Right. Well, Ted tells her that he wants to invest in her. Right.
Oh, wow.
So, so she finds this all out. And so she messages me and says, I'm not mad at you
Oh, I
anymore.
bet. Yeah.
So she was like all excited. Right.
Yeah.
So that all happened, and I was just like super pumped and super excited for her. And mind you, my husband is up north. Jason's up north. He was he was up spending his vacation up, fishing. I had to work, so I wasn't up there with him. But so Maya tells Jason what's going on. He's all excited for us.
Oh, yeah.
And then you fast forward another day later on Thursday. I'm driving home from uh, professional development that I had done in Green Bay, and I get a phone call from Ted. I'm like, why is Ted calling me?
Yeah.
I assumed he was going to tell me about Maya. And he's like, do you have a second? I'm like, what's going on? And
Yeah.
he's like, we want to offer you a position. It's a brand new position that we're creating as the executive director of RevOps, which is revenue and operations. So I would be in charge of the marketing and sales team at our agency. And he starts going into explaining why. And a lot of it had to do with my engagement, my attitude, being a good attitude and how I've handled things over the last year. Basically my quarterly summary that I had just given 2 days before and the performance and how I was able to lead this team and how I know because I know the CISA way and I know what we do at CISA and I have that knowledge and I built my team from scratch when I had to do my own sales and marketing to where it was
Yeah.
they wanted me in that role. So
They made it.
I,
This isn't a job you applied for like a
no,
year and a half ago. This is a brand new role they're making
yes,
just for you because of the work you've done.
yes, yes. Yeah,
Man,
it was
how
incredible.
exciting. Yeah.
It was incredible. I was just like, what? I
Right?
remember going, what?
Did you like pull over your car and like,
I did.
yeah.
I did. I literally pulled over and I'm like, shut my car off. And I was like listening to him because I had like questions like,
Oh, yeah.
what do I need to do? Like, do I have to apply for this job? Do I not have to apply for this job? Nope, it's yours. You can have it. And then he starts telling me about some of the benefits already. And I was just like, whoa, like like he even told me you will be making the same salary as the other executive directors who's been doing it for a year. So I wouldn't even be coming in less than them. I was the same as them,
Wow.
even though I have 1 year less in that role than
Yeah.
they did. So like
Wow.
all of those things, right? So I mean, huge salary increase. Like it
Yeah.
was it was just incredible, just like hearing all of those things. So yeah, and
What's it been like?
the job was supposed to start 6 business days later.
And so
So
how long did he give you to say yes or no?
24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, 24 hours. So then I had to
Barely
call.
enough time to ask all the questions I'm sure you had.
Yeah, I had to ask all the questions of HR. I and I told him, I'm like, I need to talk it over with my husband. I'm
I love
like,
that. I
I
love that.
don't want to make a decision without him. I'm like, I've had plenty of times in my past where I've done things in my own strength without talking to anybody about it, and I'm like, "Nope, I need to talk to my husband about this." And he's like, "Okay, that's fine. You have 24 hours." So,
Nice.
I remember calling Jason and he's just like, "What?" He goes, "Maybe I need to go away on vacation more often." Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So,
so how long
it
you been
it's
in the job now?
it's been about so I started July 1st, so it's been
July
about 2
1st.
months.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2 months in this role.
How's it going?
Um, Good. It's going good. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Um, it's been learning through a fire hose, again, but I've had experience doing that before, and I'm like,
Yep.
I know that I can do it again, just like, okay, what do I need to do? And John Lenhart actually had said, remember, always look at it through the lens of putting out one fire at a time.
One fire at a time. Yeah.
One, is it urgent and is it important? And then figure out and prioritize. So, because I was walking into a situation where they were letting half of the team go, prior to me stepping in because they weren't doing the job that they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of coming in as a cleanup person, right? So I have to like keep things running smoothly and then also hire a new team. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a lot to
it's a
deal with.
lot. It's a lot,
Okay.
but it's been really good. It's been
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Good. So what are the hopes and dreams through this job through CISA 6?
I want to continue to handle things well.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I look at this role, there's a lot of things that can be improved, a lot of changes that can happen. Um, and I'm just trying to do that and handle it well. And I like a big thing that I've noticed with this job is that people don't have the same definitions for things. Like
Okay.
a lot of people don't understand marketing well. They have this image in their head that marketing is just advertisement. But
Oh,
advertisement is
yeah.
just one small piece of marketing altogether. So, like, it's a lot of trying to help explain the why behind what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, using research to back it up, or just explaining and providing the definitions to, like, get everybody on the same page so that we can move forward together and be successful together. So, really, that's what we've been focusing on is doing that. And I
So
think
what's
we'll
the
we'll be successful.
so what's the job? So are you supporting and focusing on CISA 6 and the revenue and the operations of that? What's your role as how many degrees of separation are you and what's the impact on what you're doing to the schools that you guys are supporting?
Ooh, degrees of separation. So my direct team that I work with is the marketing team and the sales team. So my sales team is supporting all of the directors and trying to get them business.
Okay.
And so like he has a lot of connections with because right now it's only one, but we're hoping to grow it. But the sales manager has lots of meetings with directors and superintendents and things like that. And I have connections with some of them too, so like I can connect him to some of those people
Yeah.
to help him like get the sales for the different districts. And then the marketing side of things is like all of the social media presence, and we're trying to build all of that. We're also trying to make sure that people know our website, can find what they're looking for, know what we have to offer so
Oh,
that
wow.
they're all doing all of that kind of thing. And then being able to, you know, provide that support for all of the directors. So I'm not necessarily as directly involved with providing professional development like I was. I still do some because I'm also a Gallup certified coach. So I
Okay.
do strengths coaching through Gallup. Um, and I still do the instant impact coaching too. And I kind of intertwine them whenever I can so that
Yeah.
people understands their uniqueness, but also understands what that means in terms of strengths and what is which strengths align well with your uniqueness. And so I do that type of work when I'm coaching our people, and I actually have 13, I think it is, people that I actually coach within our own agency, and then I've gone out and done professional development that way around some of those things, which is actually where my passion lies. Like, I love doing that type of professional development
Yeah.
over teaching, like, nonviolent crisis intervention or teaching, like,
Right.
like, how do you write a really good individualized education plan, right? As but I'd rather teach people about who they are and help them understand that better.
Yeah.
So I can do that a little bit more specialized because I am one of those coaches too. So
Oh, that's incredible.
yeah.
So you're directly involved in essentially the lifeblood of CISA 6 existing, just
Yeah.
continuing to bring in the resources so that the people who are boots on the ground have access to what they need to help, essentially to help educators and to help kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. So like each promotion has gotten you to a higher level of where you may interact with the same number of people, but those people you're interacting with have a greater impact.
Mhm.
And just the boundaries just keep expanding. It's pretty incredible. So one of the
Yeah.
things I find really fascinating is the year and a half ago not getting the job,
Mhm.
and how that's this like different timeline now, right?
Yeah.
And I know you talked about feeling like, and even being told they made a mistake.
Mhm.
Where are you at now? It's like, was it a mistake? Was it what needed to happen? And like, would you have the job you have now if that didn't happen? So I'm wondering how you're seeing it. Is like, did the way you handle that lead to where you are today, or was it maybe you weren't supposed to get the job a year and a half ago because you wouldn't be where you are today? Then what's your take on all that now?
Yeah. So if I look back at it, it's like at the time, everybody in my life felt like it's their loss, right? They made the wrong choice. You were
Yep.
supposed to get this job. But looking at it now through this lens, I don't think the timing was completely right.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I could have done an okay job in those other roles, but I think I have a bigger impact here to influence more people in this role that I'm in now. And so I feel like all the work and me handling it as well as I did just allowed my faith to grow in knowing that God's timing is the right timing,
Yeah.
and knowing that, like, this this is where I was supposed to go. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't go out looking for this. I didn't go out trying to do this. This was all of God's work in all of this, right? So it's like my faith just grew that in all of these things. And, at the same time that I started this role, like a week later, I got named as overseer too. So it's like I'm over the last year and a half, I've been busier than I've ever been, but yet I'm the happiest that I've ever
Yeah.
been too, right? So it's just like doing the things and doing the causes that are in front of me has really helped me just focus on what are the right things that I should be doing? What are the things that I need to focus on? And I think that's what's like this timing was the right timing.
Yeah. And I mean, we know God the Father is an exhorter, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder, I've even just go back to your story, and it's like I can play it out where it's like maybe you get the job as operations, or what was the other, or two different jobs you applied
Yeah.
for?
Adult and
Systems.
systems. Yeah, adult systems learning. Yeah.
And that may have been, you may still be in the job you have today. Maybe
Mhm.
you would, but maybe you would have had to apply for it and interview for it.
Yeah.
And the story, definitely your faith isn't built as strong, and not only your faith, but also the faith of your team and the faith of your boss
Yeah.
in you
Yeah.
like, it's a lot better of, you feel a lot better about how all these things go. And that's, as an exhorter, God wants us to be jacked about the future and
Yeah.
excited about the things that are coming, that he's bringing towards us. And I have a hard time seeing how you would be more excited about what you're doing in any other version of the story.
Right. Right.
We're
Well, and
applying
I look,
for, like, to just have this, like, year where you're focused, you're kicking ass, and you're happy with just keep staying in this role, even making plans
yeah.
for the next year, and then to be not given an opportunity for a job, but given an offer.
Hmm.
We made this for you. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
that may never even happen, but even if it did, it may have looked very different.
Yeah. Very much so. But I also look at the people that I worked with over the last year too and the impact that I had on them. If I would have gotten this role, I wouldn't have had that impact.
It's a great
And
point.
there's a couple of people that were on our team that were have shared with me since getting this role. Like I met up with Jackie, she's one of my teammates, also a believer, and she's like, "I think God put you where you are supposed to be at this particular time," because she shares, she's like, "I have never felt so loved by a a boss or a supervisor and so cared for and so supported like I did with you." She's like, she goes, "And it was at a time that I needed that." And, like, what was supposed to be an hour meeting went almost 3 with her at that on that particular day because of the things that she was sharing and what I got to share and talk through things with her, but she's like, she goes, "I needed you last year." So it's just like, I
Interesting.
really look back at the last year that I had and the impact that I've had on different schools and different districts, and I just feel like I was where I was supposed to be, like, going if I think backwards, like,
Well,
you know
yeah, if you think backwards, it's easy to see that in hindsight, but it sounds like you saw that even in the moment. Like you got yourself in a position
Yeah.
to not be frustrated with the position you were in,
Mhm.
and to not, you know, take out justice. Or
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think your story is a great story of what can happen if we just focus on what's right in front of us and handle the situations well. But I
Yeah.
don't want to minimize how there's a really big lesson here of that everybody can take home, of when something happens that you feel like isn't fair,
Yeah.
handling
Yeah.
that the right way in the long run only brings a benefit to you.
Yeah.
Not because not, and in the moment, it's like you getting yourself in a position where you can just focus on what's in my control. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to have a good attitude. I'm going to do the best job I can do, is the right mindset to even enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
But it's also the right mindset to be like, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm entitled and I'm missing out on some job that was mine. I'm not going to badmouth the company. I'm still going to be a great employee. I'm still going to love them and be understanding to them, forgiveness and mercy and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so not only did it help you be in the moment and enjoy yourself while you were working, but it also paid off dividends hugely in the future too. It's like
Yeah.
so much of this is a great story of what it looks like to just handle, even, and I'm not even saying it was unfair to you, but something you felt like was at a time where it's like this doesn't feel like it's fair. You still handled it well, and because of that, it paid off.
Yeah. And that was really my mantra, like, I'm gonna forgive
Yeah,
and move forward, right? Which is not easy to do because people just want to, like, forgive and forget, right? It's like, no, you don't wanna forgive and forget. You wanna forgive and not take out your own justice, like you
yeah,
said, right? And so, like, yeah, I might still feel frustrated about it, but I'm not gonna do that. That's not my place to take out that justice.
right.
So, yeah, that was my mantra though, for the first especially for that first month. It was just like, just forgive, just forgive, just forgive. So,
And when we live out the principles that God's lined out for us to live, it works. Like
yep,
they work every time the way they're meant to work. And
yeah,
the times they seem like they don't, or it's not the truth that's wrong in those moments, right? So
yeah, yeah,
holy smokes. Well, Junko, thank you so much for sharing. What an incredible journey you've been on. This is just the
absolutely.
professional journey that we covered today too. I know there's a lot more to your story than this, but it is quite the story. I appreciate you coming on and sharing it with the audience here at Unlocked.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great being here. I love sharing my story.
Yeah, yeah, it's clear you do a good job of it. I'd love to have you back on and maybe talk some other, some other parts of your story. And
Yeah,
yeah, the audience will benefit more from it. So thank you very much.
yeah, no problem.
Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Thank you, Junko. What a great story. What an awesome profession she has to making an impact over the schools. It's really great. And yeah, I really look up to her and how every step along this way just seems like, as she continues to focus on the right things, God gives her more opportunity for greater impact. It's pretty awesome. One of the things we talked about very early on in her story is the importance of words and definitions. I found that really fascinating with her job as a speech pathologist and getting into language. And it really comes down to definitions. And, it's something that I'm really passionate about as well, being a doctrine guy that I am. And also as it relates to thought process, everything with thought process comes down to definitions. Our brains work according to words and definitions. And it's something that kids are taught at such an early age when we're teaching them to read. So much of that is just understanding these symbols is all about words and definitions. Feel like we lose that as adults so often. So many of the conversations I've had that have gone south, the conversations that have been really tense, are conversations where I'm asking people what their definition is of certain words. And it's amazing how as adults, these same conversations about words and definitions are just met with a lot of times defensiveness. But this also relates to science. And science really is just tools to help people determine truth. And really, the first step in science is defining words. So, the first step in determining truth is to identify the words you will use and determining their definitions. So, that's science. That's this overarching field that covers everything, right? Determining truth. So, what would that say about theology? Which essentially you could say is the study of God or the science of who is God, right? So what is the first step in theology? Well, theology would fit underneath science. So the first step in theology would also be defining words. However, and I know this from my own experience as well, today people avoid defining their words, and that's more true in biblical scholars and theologians and in the church and with pastors, from my experience, than in any other field. And in fact, many people today attempt to make the case that words aren't important, that you can't define a term specifically down to one thing, and that definitions aren't even necessary. So this means the first step to take when interacting with others is to find out their beliefs about words and definitions. If you're interacting with a person who doesn't believe words and definitions are important, that conversation isn't going to go great. So a couple of things I like to unpack here is really words and definitions, right? So let's start with words. Words are powerful, and God chose to make himself known through words in the Bible. So our ability to handle words not only proves our ability in God's eyes, but it plays a critical role in salvation, in our own salvation. I mean, if a person doesn't believe that words are powerful, then there's really no reason for that person to read the Bible. Now, as it relates to definitions, words, yes, they can have more than one meaning. However, words have a definite and specific meaning depending on the word itself and the context of its use. So the minimum requirement for me to have an intelligent thinking conversation with another person is for me to be able to define the words I use. And me saying that words don't have a definite meaning when used is the most immoral statement I could make. Because if I really believe this, then I should use something other than words to communicate it. The very way that I'm communicating that statement requires me to be able to have words that have a specific meaning in the usage that I'm using them. So yeah, words and definitions are important, right? And I've had conversations with I've had a conversation with the pastor that actually argued against this when it came to the definition of love. And he said, you can't define love. Love has many definitions. And he says, I love my dog. I love tacos. I love my wife. It's like, great. And I don't mean the same thing behind all those things. Well, I mean, whose fault is that? Is that the definition of love's fault? That you have three definitions? Or is that your fault? Because you are using the same word that means three different things. The next thing I wanted to talk about that Junko mentioned a few times was wise counsel. She has this group of people she goes to. One, and of course, her husband, which I thought was an amazing part of her story. She's making these really important decisions with him. They're a team, right? She also has other people that she goes to for help in professional ways and depending on the context. Now, in the Bible, whenever the leader in a situation had a problem that they couldn't solve, they looked for a wise man or a group of wise men. Now, a wise man or this group were people or a person who spent their time in deep thinking in order to be able to help people solve problems. The thing is, a true leader knows that being the wisest man is not the job of the leader. The leader knows they can't spend the time required to be the wisest person and still be an effective leader. I like to think of it, a captain on a ship needs to be steering the ship. And they should have, their first officer or these other officers that are helping them make decisions, but they gotta be steering the ship, right? So leaders need wise men to be able to help them come up with how to handle the day-to-day decisions that a leader is responsible for. So some basics of having a council, of having a wise council, and holding these meetings with a council. A council meeting does need one leader, right? This is the person who's responsible for any decisions that are made. So with Junko's story, she calls in these people on her council. She's the leader of that council. Ultimately, she's the one who's responsible for the decision that she's going to make for her life. Now, the leader puts out an agenda or an objective to the council members. With Junko's story, she would say, hey, I'm thinking about applying to this job. What do you guys think? Now, what the council does is they give their thoughts, all their thoughts, whether they're good or bad. So the leader has a wide range to choose from. Now, this should be seen as a brainstorming session. The council's job is to bring as many ideas as they can to the leader, so the leader is able to make the best decision possible. Now, once there are enough stated thoughts or ideas, which could take more than one meeting, then the leader endorses an idea and then makes sure it's responsible to make sure that idea happens. They make the decision for whatever that agenda item is. Now, what's cool is this is also the way God operates. God uses counsel. And all the greatest leaders in the Bible had council meetings and had wise men. This was even true for secular kings in the Bible. But this is great. David had men and women who gave him counsel as well. And he also had one of the greatest faults in his story was a time where he was isolated away from the people who could actually confront him like a council can. So go and look at the story of him and Bathsheba, and it starts with him not being in a position that he should have been as a king. He was alone on his porch. Anyways, the final thing I want to talk to you about today is about forgiveness, which was a key theme that ran through Junko's story, and we hit on it at the end. What is the definition? Well, Junko kind of tipped her hand to it, and I think I did as well. But ultimately, forgiveness is the statement of your will that you will not equal out your own justice, even if you're given the chance. Forgiveness allows God to equal out justice. Forgiveness benefits the forgiver. And forgiveness does not mean that the forgiver has to forget or even feel good about the forgiven person. So when Junko mentioned the forgive and forget, yeah, it's not forgive and forget. It's forgive and move forward. We don't have to forget things. We just need to be in a place where we're determined and committed and state our will that we're not going to equal out justice. We're not going to take out vengeance. But I can do that without feeling good about what happened. And ultimately, that's one of the issues I see a lot of people have is they think forgiving is actually the same thing as saying it's okay what happened or condoning the behavior. Or a lot of times people think if I forgive, they're going to get away with it. Thing is, that's not true either. God is right and just. And ultimately, Romans 12:19 sums it up perfectly. It says, avenge not yourselves, beloved, but give place unto the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance belongeth unto me. I will recompense, saith the Lord. So yes, God is right and just. Let's let him operate as such. One of the ways we get in his way is by not forgiving. One of the ways we can facilitate God to operate as the right and just Lord that he is by forgiving. So that's it for today on Unlocked. Thank you to Junko once again. I'm Dr. Joel Swakowski. Yeah, if you want to check out the resources that Junko referred to, especially flowsys.com, check them out. A lot of great stuff on there that she's been using not only in her own family life with her kids, with her husband, but also professionally as well. Yeah, you can check out those resources for yourself. So thank you for listening. Keep seeking truth. Keep living it out. We'll see you next time.